It's Friday, June 3rd. Let's talk PlayStation. Alright, let's kick it off with some Last Guardian. We don't really talk about The Last Guardian too much on Let's Talk PlayStation. That's probably because the game is, still not out yet, and it takes, how long for us to actually hear some news about this game. But we actually have some somewhat good news here, which is that the game actually still is coming out this year. That's at least what we're being told. The creator of the game, Fumito Ueda, was talking to IGN. He unsurprisingly said that he's upset with how long the game is taking to create. Who really would have, guessed that? He was actually quoted as saying, "We thought that Ico and Shadow of the Colossus took a long time to develop, so one of the missions of The Last Guardian was that we wanted to create something good in a short period of time, so the fact that it took a long time to develop was completely unexpected for me. It would be nice to talk about all the struggles that we've been through, but there's a lot of things that we can't say just yet." That's the disappointing part, is that I really want to know what happened with this game, because clearly such a long period of time has passed between the development of this game, and of course one of the bigger roles is that they moved the development from PlayStation 3 to PlayStation 4, so certainly there's a whole, slew of difficulties and struggles and things you have to overcome when you're completely changing the platform, and we have a couple of, ramblings of what possibly went on within the team and why the game took as long as it did to make, but I want to hear all the details. We're probably not going to hear that we're not going to probably not hear all of those details for quite a while. Alright, so we don't talk PlayStation Vita too much because there's just never any, major news about PlayStation Vita, but this one's actually a pretty cool milestone. So PlayStation Vita actually just recently sold 5 million units in Japan for the lifetime sales of the hardware in Japan, which is pretty good. Of course, everyone likes to put Vita under the telescope and talk about how terrible it's doing and how its sales are pretty much non-existent, but 5 million for Japan is actually quite decent. To put that in a little bit of perspective, that's actually more than the N64, the Wii U, Xbox 360, Xbox One, of course, and it's even far more than the PlayStation 4 in that region. So actually Vita still doing quite well in Japan, so at least there's some good news to discuss. Of course, it's still not nearly as good as say PlayStation 3 sales, of course PlayStation Portable sales in that territory, nowhere even close to DS or 3DS sales, but Vita is still chugging along, and just barely treading water, which is good because I do love the platform. I want it to still be around and still be relevant, and it's definitely doing that in Japan, that's for sure. So this I found rather interesting. We have a new publisher stepping forward, talking about the possibilities of PlayStation 5 and a new Xbox. This time it was Take-Two. Take-Two boss Strauss Zelnick was quoted as saying, "Do I expect there will be another iteration of hardware? I do. Do I think that it will be good for us? I do. If it doesn't happen, will it be bad for us? No." And then he was also further asked about, say the possibilities of a PS4 Neo or the Scorpio or this, mid-cycle refresh. For that he said he can't comment on those rumors, doesn't matter, no. Take-Two, of course, being very upfront about their position in this industry, where they feel pretty confident about where they are right now and where they'll be going in the future, which is understandable because it's Take-Two, of course. They have such big staples under their name, of course. One of the biggest ones, for example, that they're well known for, Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption. I mean, they've got some pretty healthy franchises under their belt, and no matter what kind of the industry or the market dictates, they will be probably pretty safe to adapt to it and stay alive in this market. But it's just another situation where you have a really big publisher being pressed about if there's going to be new consoles, what do you think is going to happen in the future. They even went on to say that for right now with virtual reality, they aren't too keen on it. They don't think there's a big market for it. That's another situation where they're just such a massive publisher, they can live pretty comfortably in the market, and they can decide when to jump into something and when not to jump into something, because they just have these huge cash cows under their belt where they really, it's just they're playing, they have this safe role in the industry, which not a lot of publishers and developers have, is a safe role in this industry. Take-Two is one of them. Rockstar Games is one of them. They can be okay with however the market's going to change, but even more so, this is just another publisher saying absolutely there's going to be consoles. I always find it somewhat odd whenever big publishers or whatever are asked, like, do you think there's going to be new consoles? It's like, even if like it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, you think Sony and Microsoft with their current success of their current success on PS4 and X1, do you think they're just not going to release a new system? Like, you know what? I think we're done. Like, PlayStation 4 is doing so well. Like, nah, we're done. There just won't be a PS5. it's so intriguing to me. Like, why are people even having this question just yet? Like, of course there's going to be new consoles. I feel like this question would only make sense if, say, you know, the next PlayStation came out, the next Xbox came out, and their sales are, like, just, like, incredibly poor. And I mean substantially poor, to, like, to the point where it's, say, it's a worser drop-off than even, like, PlayStation Vita sales or something. Because even with Vita sales, it wasn't really a question of, like, oh, you know, what up, you know, where's Vita gonna go or whatnot. People were still, like, you know, will it be able to survive and tread in the market and whatnot. But it's like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And speaking of hardware, we have some recent rumors going around. So now GameStop CEO Paul Raines, and he's actually been saying this for a while now. This is kind of old news, but certainly something to touch on finally. He believes that these new consoles will be announced at E3, or he's more or less saying, like, just wait till E3, and that's where we're going to hear more details about things like virtual reality and new consoles. And that's pretty much like the indirect way of saying it. Like, oh, you'll, you know, hear new consoles at E3. It's like, what other new consoles are we really going to hear about other than, say, Xbox Scorpio and PlayStation Neo? You know what I'm saying? Like, what else could it be? So there, you know, he's pretty much saying that's when we can expect, like, an announcement. And the past few rumors, you know, with PlayStation 4 Neo, the recent rumors was that it would not be E3 and that we'd be seeing an announcement, you know, further on, possibly at Tokyo Game Show or something, but certainly not at E3. And the rumors on the Xbox side, now that those are getting a lot more stronger, we're hearing from that camp where it's like, oh, Microsoft actually moved up their planned announcement. They didn't necessarily plan on announcing it this quickly, but now they feel like they have to because there's more pressure in the industry, and it's becoming a more heavily accepted thing, and they might actually end up doing it. It's actually interesting to see if this will actually happen at E3 from either, you know, from either manufacturer giant, Sony and Microsoft, because, you know, it's a matter of, like, you know, who's going to go first in the veins of, like, who's going to explain this to the consumer, because obviously the big problem right now with this idea of mid-cycle consoles that consumers have no idea what the hell this really means. They want full, complete details, and of course, even though I've explained it multiple times on this show as to what it should be and what it probably will be based on, you know, the rumors currently so far, a lot of people still have a lot of concern, which is you know, understandable. So it's like, for Sony and Microsoft, they have a big uphill battle with not only trying to get people to buy this thing, but certainly justify it and, you know, ease consumers into knowing, you know, this is something you don't have to do. This is just a, you know, this is something we're trying, blah, blah, blah. Here's how it's not going to affect you. Here's how it will affect you if you, say, want to buy this new platform or something. But it's more of an easing consumers kind of thing. Because that might be a bigger problem than actually trying to sell these damn things. Either way, I think we're going to have a very interesting E3, even more so than, say, the last few years, because now we've got this really lingering, you know, like, mood where it's like, who's going to actually talk about this thing? You know, virtual reality, of course, is also a pretty hot topic, which is getting close to release for, at least on the Sony camp, and Microsoft, we still have no clue, really. Their rumors are also saying that they might do virtual reality with, say, Oculus now, that they might partner with Oculus, which would definitely be in Microsoft's best interests. So that's a possible, you know, announcement that we could possibly see. There's just a lot of outliers, a lot of elephants in the room, and I feel like when E3 finally starts happening, and, like, we finally start the, you know, their conferences and whatnot, that's what we're all going to be, like, waiting for, is, like, when we're going to, like, when, like, some bombs are going to drop, because who knows, it probably will happen. And of course, speaking of E3, Sony also announced this past week that they are in fact doing their E3 PlayStation Experience thing in theaters again. So if you don't know, or if you hadn't noticed, the past few years, Sony's actually been airing their E3 press conference at, you know, movie theaters, like, locally to you. So right now they're saying 85 theaters across the United States, Canada, Latin America, I believe. Tickets are free. They're available right now. I mean, I can link you in the bottom below if you want to go look at this thing. As usual, if you go or whatnot, you get some, you know, digital goods, a collectible card or something. It's still pretty cool that they actually did this. I still find it, like, so awesome, actually. Like, even though I forget when they started doing this, if it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. I honestly don't remember, but when they did this and they kept doing it, I think it's, like, such a cool idea. And the fact that they're still doing it means it's a pretty, like, beneficial partnership with the movie theaters and everything, and I guess it's working out pretty well in Sony's favor. So that's it's cool. I've actually never done it because I typically watch them at home and then do a YouTube video right away. I don't want to have to go out, come home, and all that bullshit, but yeah, that's the thing they're doing again, so be on the lookout for that if you're interested. Or really, I would assume you'd want to get your, like, tickets pretty quickly, because they're free and they might go out quick. Anyway, those are some of the news stories I want to talk about with you guys this week. The Right On Gaming topic was about PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita PlayStation Plus support. Will that end soon? Somebody was asking me, you know, hey, I've noticed that Sony doesn't do as much marketing, trailers, videos, and stuff for the PS Plus games on PS3 and Vita. Are they possibly going to shy away from that or possibly drop support for that pretty soon? Check that conversation out. That's really good. In terms of any other updates I have for you, not really a whole lot going on. As usual, reviews, I mean, yeah, I'm still trying. It's nowadays, I work so much. I either have time to work, sleep, or, you know, try to have a social life, which is also pretty much crumbling below my feet. That's just like the nature of the beast nowadays. Gotta make money and stuff. But I'll get to it when I can, as always. I think I'll stop mentioning at this point. When, you know, the Uncharted 4 review comes, it'll come. And other videos that I do want to do, which I do plan on doing at some point, they'll come as well. You're all very patient with me. I appreciate that. And I love you very much. But please keep submitting around on gaming topics. I always appreciate those. Anyway, that concludes this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. I'm Ryan Berney, and thank you all so much for talking with me. I'll see you guys next Friday.